On September 17, 2017, around 1 p.m., a magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck Mexico. The disaster severely affected the capital and the states of Morelos, Puebla, and Guerrero, earning a rating of 9 on the Mercalli scale. The seismic event brought back memories of the 1985 earthquake, as it also happened on September 19th. Among the many images left by the tragedy, one stood out above the rest. The story of Frida Sofia. This 12-year-old girl was said to have been trapped under the rubble of a school that collapsed in Mexico City. Her presence was detected using thermal cameras, which allowed rescuers to immediately begin efforts to free her from the ruins. The story was so heart-wrenching that the media, led by Televisa, didn't want to miss a second of the rescue. Everyone wanted to be there when the girl was pulled from the debris. Unfortunately, after more than 24 hours of continuous coverage, the Navy Secretary announced that Frida Sofia never existed. The then Undersecretary of the Navy, Enrique Sarmiento Beltran, stated that he had never been aware of such a version, and confirmed that no girl by that name was listed in the school's records or with authorities. So, where did this story come from? I'd like to think it was just an error, but it's curious that Televisa was the only media outlet inside the cordoned-off area. The network broadcasted day and night to a massive audience eagerly awaiting the rescue. Was it simply a mistake or a strategy to boost TV's ratings? Interestingly, a similar story emerged during the 1985 earthquake. Back then, the media talked about a 9-year-old boy named Monchito, who was supposedly trapped under the rubble of a building. Rescuers spent days searching for him, only to later reveal that, like Frida Sofia, he never existed. Was this an attempt by the media to sell more newspapers, or was it simply collective hysteria? These stories, like many others, highlight the reach and influence of fake news. Some may seem relatively harmless, like the examples we've just mentioned, but others go much further. They drive electoral campaigns, support authoritarian regimes, favor economic interests, and in the worst cases, provoke wars, death, and devastation. Every day, the media launch constant campaigns about the need to combat fake news, pointing out its dangers and impacts. But what happens when those same media create and spread lies? This is what this short documentary is about. How fake news spread by established media affects and weakens journalism. Interested? Then stay with us. Hello human, before we begin, let me clarify something. Here, we are fans of good journalism, the kind that challenges power, exposes corruption, and fights crime. The journalism that, thanks to the efforts of many, has helped us understand the world and stop those who tried to take advantage. There are journalists who have given everything, their livelihood, their freedom, and even their lives, often without receiving the recognition they deserve. So, this video isn't a conspiracy theory labeling all journalism as bad. We just want to expose those who lied for their own interests. In the narrative war, the media they create and amplify, which spreads false discourses, is a powerful weapon. People take this information as truth without checking or reflecting on it. They then internalize it and end up repeating it to those around them. Now, let's get to the stories. On July 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 was shot down over Donetsk, Ukraine during the war in the region. A Buk missile, fired by pro-Russian separatists, killed 298 people. Immediately, Moscow and the separatists denied any involvement, blaming the Ukrainian government and claiming the missile was a leftover Soviet weapon. However, international investigations led by the Netherlands, along with media like Bellingcat, debunked this version. Technical evidence, recordings of separatists discussing the downing, and photos of Russian missile systems in the area showed that the plane was shot down by mistake, as it was confused with a Ukrainian military target. To create a narrative that it was a false flag attack, the Kremlin used its media machinery, including Russia Today, RT, to discredit the evidence and spread lies. For example, RT claimed that the missile had been fired from Ukrainian territory, a claim that Bellingcat disproved with satellite images and visual evidence. Even in 2023, RT titled a story claiming the international investigation was suspended for lack of evidence, omitting that in 2020, 3 individuals were sentenced to life in prison based on conclusive evidence. Another hoax related to the conflict was spread in 2014 by the Russian channel Первый канал. The sensationalist story claimed that a woman had seen Ukrainian soldiers crucify a 3-year-old boy in Sloviansk. The story was so shocking that independent journalists investigated it. The conclusion? It was all a lie. There was no photographic, film, or additional testimony. The place where the alleged atrocity took place, Lenin Square, doesn't even exist. The West has also been a stage for media hoaxes. In October 2023, following Hamas's attack on Kfar Aza, Israeli journalist Nicole Zedek from At24 claimed that Israeli soldiers told her that Hamas militants had decapitated babies. Without proof, the story was picked up by media like CNN, where Sarah Sidner confirmed that the militants had indeed carried out these atrocities. Even Joe Biden stated in a press conference, "I never thought I'd see and have confirmed images of criminals decapitating babies." However, it all turned out to be false. The White House later clarified that Biden hadn't seen any proof and that his statement was based on comments from an Israeli official. This hoax aimed to sway public opinion in favor of Netanyahu's actions in Gaza, but the plan backfired. One emblematic example of media manipulation was the coverage of the Tlatelolco massacre on October 1968 during the presidency of Gustavo Díaz Ordaz. The day after the events, which left hundreds wounded and dead at the hands of the army, the media echoed the official version. Alleged infiltrators among the students had attacked the military, who responded in self-defense. Ordaz, fearing that student protests would damage Mexico's image before the Olympics, labeled them as communists and repressed them violently. Among the injured that day was Italian journalist Oriana Falaschi, who was taken to the morgue of a hospital where a priest noticed she was still alive and saved her life. Days later, she said this about the press. "I'm amazed at the news in their newspapers. How bad they are, how timid, how little capacity for outrage. What Olympics, what anything. As soon as I'm out of here, I'm leaving." In 2014, during the Winter Olympics in Russia, an American athlete posted a video on Twitter of a wolf in the locker rooms of the Olympic Village. Without confirming, several media outlets spread the story. How could something like this happen? Well, it was all a joke organized for Jimmy Kimmel's show. In early 2024, the story of Geraldine Fernandez, a woman from Colombia, went viral. She claimed to have worked as an animator on Hayao Miyazaki's film The Boy and the Heron. Geraldine had been lying that 2023, even giving talks at Sergio Arboleda University. According to her, she had created over 25,000 frames from her home for the Studio Ghibli film. When the film won a Golden Globe on January 7th of this year, interest in her story grew. El Heraldo, the most important newspaper in Barranquilla, published an article titled "The Barranquilla Talent That Shone at the Golden Globes." Soon, people on social media began asking questions. How was it possible that Geraldine didn't appear in the credits? How, in a film with 60,000 frames, could she have drawn almost half of them? The pressure became so intense that Geraldine eventually published a statement denying her involvement in the film and apologizing for the incident. What's most incredible is that neither the university nor the media verified the story or apologized. Only El Heraldo did, for being the first to spread the hoax. One last example. In November last year, a false post on Facebook claimed that chicharron wags healthier than cauliflower, carrots, and spinach. Incredibly, media from Argentina, Spain, Mexico, and Colombia replicated the story without verifying it. Although this last example isn't as dramatic as the others, we mention it because of the ease with which viral health hoaxes spread without any scientific backing. It's unfortunate that many media outlets care more about money and clicks than about the risk of spreading misinformation that can be harmful to people's health. Please be careful with hoaxes. Many people manipulate others to gain money and power by selling lies. Remember, the world is not black or white, nor left or right. It's much bigger and more complex than that. Be carefully. See you next time. Good luck.